Hello, Genius. Welcome back to another episode of the Own Your Genius podcast, the space where we encourage you to use your education and experiences to create dope businesses. I'm your host, Attorney LaConya Murray, owner of Off the Mark IP Solutions and founder of Mark Legal. Let's get real for a minute. Making the shift from the stability of a corporate role to the wild ride of entrepreneurship is no small feat. You're bringing years of education and experience to the table, but stepping out on your own means there's no safety net. Every detail matters. One thing that can make or break your business, your client agreement. If you're transitioning from corporate life, you already recognize how crucial a well-written contract is. These documents aren't just paperwork, they're the foundation for every relationship you build. And when things go sideways, your agreement is what keeps you protected. I've seen brilliant professionals pour themselves into their businesses only to run into trouble because their contracts were missing essential elements. Maybe it's designers whose client keeps requesting endless revisions, or a consultant that's left chasing down late payments. Does that sound familiar? If you're nodding along, then this conversation is for you. Welcome back to the Own Your Genius podcast, where we talk about building smart businesses, creating standout brands, and turning your intellectual property into income. I'm your host, Attorney LaConya Murray, founder of Off the Mark IP Solutions. We're a boutique firm that helps professionals and experts use legal clarity and brand strategy to protect what they've built and grow what they've created. We got a good one for you today, so let's get started. First up is the scope of work. This section spells out exactly what you're delivering and, just as importantly, what you're not. Don't leave room for assumptions. If you're a web designer, are you creating 3 pages or 10? If you're a consultant, does your package include follow-up calls? Be very specific. Break down tasks, deliverables, and any limitations on revisions or support. You want to clearly outline what's included, what's extra, and how requests for additional work will be handled and billed. A well-crafted scope of work avoids misunderstandings, protects your time, and sets clear boundaries for both you and your client. It also provides a reference point if questions arise later, giving you solid foundation to manage expectations and resolve potential disputes. Taking the time to detail your scope of work up front can save countless of headaches down the road and keeps your client relationship positive and professional. Next, let's talk money, because you deserve to get paid for your expertise. Payment terms should be crystal clear. How much is due? When is it due? And what happens if a payment is late? Are you collecting the deposit up front? Is it full payment required before delivery? Spell it out. When you're clear on the numbers, you protect your business and keep your cash flow healthy. You can specify how clients can pay you, whether by credit card, bank transfer, check, or digital platforms like PayPal or Stripe. Outlining this upfront avoids confusions and delays. Then you also want to detail any late fees, any interest, or any service interruptions that apply if payments are not made on time. This encourages timely payment and provides recourse if there are delays. You want to clarify when and how invoice will be sent, such as upon completion of a milestone, or on a set date each month, or after final delivery. Consistent invoicing helps both parties manage expectations and their finances. You also want to explain whether or not deposits are refundable and under what circumstances refunds may be issued and how cancellations are handled. This can prevent disputes if a project ends early or if the expectations change. When it comes to payments, you also want to talk about or also include the steps for resolving payment disputes. Is it going to go through mediation, arbitration? You want to ensure there's a clear path if a disagreement arises. And then for international clients, you want to specify currency for payments and who's responsible for any taxes or fees or conversion costs. If you work on a retainer or you offer ongoing services, you want to clarify renewal dates, auto billing procedures, and notice requirements for ending the agreement. By addressing these concerns or these considerations in your agreements, you're going to ensure a smoother transaction. You're going to minimize misunderstandings, and you're going to make it easier for you to get paid for the value that you provide. If you ever stressed out on deadlines, you know how important delivery timelines are. Your agreement should specify when you deliver the final product and what happens if there are any delays on either side. Maybe you need feedback from your client before moving forward. That happens, right? Or maybe you need to get some information from them. You want to make sure your timelines allow for both your workflow and theirs so everyone knows just what to expect. Just as you commit to delivering your work on schedule, your contract can also hold your client accountable for providing timely feedback on materials needed to keep the project on track. If the client delays in giving you necessary input, your agreement should outline how this impacts delivery, such as pausing the schedule until feedback is received or adjusting time or deadlines accordingly. Setting these mutual responsibilities ensures that both parties are clear on their roles and helps prevent frustration if the project stalls due to delayed responses. Your contract should also discuss what happens if expectations aren't met. Because let's be honest, sometimes things just don't go as planned. Maybe a client isn't happy with the first draft or a payment gets missed. Your contract should lay out remedies, how you will fix these issues, and what steps will be taken. Can you offer revisions? Is there a refund policy? Clear communication here shows professionalism and protects your relationships even when things get out of touch. And then ownership is a biggie, especially for creatives and consultants. Who owns that final product? The client or you? Make sure your agreement spells it out. If you're handing over full rights, say so. If you're retaining ownership and granting your client a license to use the work, clarify that too. This prevents future disputes and ensures everyone is on the same page. But what if the final product is built upon your own intellectual property, like templates, frameworks, methodologies, proprietary methods, and your client requests ownership of the final deliverable? And this is a common scenario for consultants and creators who leverage their unique expertise across multiple projects. It's really important to distinguish between your pre-existing intellectual property, which is background IP, and the specific work created for the client, which is a deliverable. You want to define both those things in the agreement. If the client wants ownership of the final product, but your underlying IP is involved, you want to consider these options in your agreement. Licensing instead of a transfer. So you want to grant the client a broad license to use the final deliverable while you retain ownership of the underlying IP. This allows the client to use the work as needed without transferring your core assets. Or you can make carve-outs in your ownership transfer. If you agree to transfer the ownership, you want to clearly carve out your pre-existing intellectual property. You want to state that the custom elements created for the client are being assigned and that you're retaining the rights to your proprietary tools or methods. Or you can charge additional fees for full ownership. If the client insists on owning everything, including your underlying IP, you need to consider negotiating a higher fee since you're giving up the right to reuse those assets in the future. And when it comes to ownership, you also want to spell out how the client can use that deliverable and what restrictions apply, especially if your IP could be valuable in other contexts. Always make these terms explicit in your contracts. This way, you protect your business's core assets while meeting your client's needs, and you avoid any type of misunderstandings down the road. So we talked about a lot. Let's recap it, right? Your client agreement isn't just legal protection. It's a roadmap for a successful working relationship. You want to make sure that you define your scope of work, set clear payment terms, establish delivery timelines, have a plan for unmet expectations, and clarify ownership of deliverables. Take time to review your contracts. Don't leave anything to chance. If you're transitioning from corporate life, remember, your knowledge and your experience are powerful, but your client agreements are what keep your business secure and thriving. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Own Your Genius podcast. If today's episode sparked some ideas or questions, I'd love to hear from you. Make sure you leave a review or a comment. And if you found this episode helpful, make sure you share it with a fellow entrepreneur and subscribe for more practical legal wisdom. Until next time, keep building your business, growing your brand, and owning your genius. Let's take this conversation over to ownyourgenius.co. I want you to share this episode with 3 people and have them join you there. But before you go, you know what to do. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and rate the podcast. Until next week, keep building your business, growing your brand, and owning your genius.